Straw Hut Media. We're better together with Ann and Heather.
Welcome back to Better Together with Ann and Heather. Today we have Dr. E.
My favorite. Always. So look forward to talking to Dr. E. So many good things we learned from you. And today I think we have a really
had homework to do.
We had homework to do. Dr. E.
I'm very proud of you for doing it.
We
and
did
we'll
our
see
homework.
if that impacted anyone according to what your results were.
Well, why don't you tell our audience what challenge you gave us this week?
This week, the challenge was the following: to take the love languages quiz.
Love languages quiz.
So there are 7,000 languages around the world, and there are 5 love languages. And a love language is a way that we communicate love. So we speak in our love language and we hear in our love language. Sometimes our partner, our business associate, our child has the same love language. And in that case, that's good because you're already speaking their language. A lot of times and a lot of relationship strain occurs when people have different love languages because we tend to speak our own love language without realizing it.
So do we all have a love language that we're speaking, whether we know it or not?
Yes.
So how do we know that we're speaking in a loving way, even in our own language, or if we're not?
Well,
How do we
think about
define
it.
that we're in a love language?
How do you communicate love to the people you care about? And by the way, this is love. This could be love, like partner, romantic. Again, it could be children. The quiz is available for your kids, which is so powerful. It also is applicable to work. So if you work with people, knowing what their love language is, not in a romantic way, but in terms of how they feel appreciated, can be so powerful.
So how did you come up with this quiz? Are there many love language quizzes?
So thank you. So I did not come up with this. It is Dr. Gary Chapman.
Okay.
He came up with this many years ago. And so if you go to 5lovelanguages.com, not mine, free assessment, you can find out for you, for your people in your family. Again, when I have someone come on board on my team, I have them take it every time so that I know what their love language is, so I can make sure that I speak in their love language.
Well, and this doctor had people coming to him for years for therapy, and he just found these similar patterns with the people he was seeing. And so he came up with these five love languages, which
Yes.
are, should we talk about what the 5 are? And then,
Please.
so words of affirmation, which is pretty straightforward, right?
I'm proud of you. You look really pretty today.
Thank
I'll
you.
give
I fell for
examples
that
as
for 1
you-
second.
I already said
I
that
fell for
one.
that for 1 second. I was like, oh my God, that's so nice. Thank you.
Okay, affirmation.
You do.
Okay.
Quality time, acts of service, physical touch, and receiving gifts.
Wow, those are the 5 love languages?
Yes.
That's so interesting, isn't it? Okay, that's really interesting.
Well,
So
you
when
took the test. You act like you're seeing them for the first time.
No, I did. But I didn't know that those were defined as the 5 love languages, though. I mean, I did take the quiz, but I didn't. I didn't
I
take the
just
quiz
didn't
on
want
the 5
her to
love
think
languages.
that you didn't do your homework.
I took the quiz. Didn't
I
know the
didn't take the
languages.
quiz for her. She didn't cheat off me.
No, I
Hers
did
is
not.
very different. So how do you want to do? Should we talk about each one? Should we tell you our results of the quiz?
Well, I want to know the intent of the quiz. I want to know what it teaches you once you take it, because the questions were very interesting to me, and not what I was expecting out of a love language quiz. So I'm curious, from these questions, what are you expecting to get? And I also want to tell our audience that you can get this love language quiz not only on that website, but you can get it on ours too when we're finished talking with Dr. E.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's an even better place to get it.
Yeah.
The
So
link there.
so what is it? What is the intent? What are we looking for when we take a love language quiz?
We're looking for personally how we hear and communicate love. And then we want to know the other person's love language too. So I'm going to give an example.
Okay.
I am acts of service. Do stuff for me, right? Empty the dishwasher, pick up the dry cleaning, go to the grocery store. I feel so loved. I don't need diamonds, but you do something that's on my to-do list without me asking.
Yes.
Oh, I feel so loved.
Oh,
My
I see. So that really
husband-
allows somebody to say, oh my gosh, if I want to make her feel loved, then what I can do is unload that dishwasher. She is just going to feel so happy with me. So you're learning how to do things that the other person is going to feel good about, even if it's not what you necessarily would like for yourself.
And that's the key, is we tend to speak in our own love language, but when we want someone else to hear our love, we need to speak in their love language.
I think that's one of the most interesting things, though. I mean, obviously, I was in a relationship that didn't work out very well. But one of the things that I learned was that I was being loved by, he was a person who wanted gifts. He would give me gifts to make up for whatever the argument was, and he would think that would then go away. But I am not a person who does forget what happens in the conversation the night before because a gift is given to me. However, I realized, he wanted me to give gifts to make up for whatever it was. And that, I think, was a big part of the conflict in our relationship. But we were so different in that regard that it would have helped if we took the quiz.
And I think that it happens too a lot with parents. When you have kids, things shift a little bit, because I remember all I wanted was, him to take the kids and give me a minute of peace. Right. And for him to do that would show me love and appreciation. Right. But he didn't recognize that. So I think that it's constantly shifting as you go through life, right?
Well, and again, it's understanding what the other person's love language is, because it's almost like if one person is speaking Russian and another one is speaking French, the person who's speaking French could say, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you in French, but the person who only understands Russian cannot hear it.
Right.
So this is when, someone may say, like in my relationship, I'll be like, I did all of this for you. My husband is words of affirmation. All I need to do is send him a text, say I'm proud of you, and he feels so loved. Right. But because that's not my love language, that's not the primary place where I would have started the conversation with him.
Right. And then sometimes we kind of overpower, but we do it over and over and over again because it's our love language. So we say, yes. we keep giving the gifts. And the other person's like, I still am not feeling loved at all. And it just escalates into something if it's not defined.
Exactly, because in this example, right, he was giving you gifts. He's like, I keep giving her gifts. Why isn't she happy? What's going on? What's wrong with her? I keep giving gifts. And you're like, stop giving me gifts.
Exactly. I mean, in a conflict. But I mean, it's so interesting. It would help so much if we could define this in the beginning of our relationships, wouldn't it?
Indeed.
Unfortunately.
Do you want to hear what we are?
Okay.
I do.
No, wait. Do we want to spoil and get to the end, or do we want her to guess which we are?
I don't know how she could possibly.
Really? I don't know. I bet she could. No. So should we do it, or should we talk about the questions? Should we bring up some of the questions?
Each question, can we?
Well, I mean, we don't have. How many are there? I forget. Let's talk. How about the first one? Just to give an example to people who are listening.
Sure.
So we took a quiz so they know what we're kind of leaping off from.
And you can take it in a relationship or not in a relationship.
Yes. So the options are adult in a relationship, adult not in a relationship. I think there's teen.
Yeah, it's asking you, the first question it asks you is if you're adult, a teenager, or if you're taking it for your child.
I am so excited to give this to Homer and Atlas. It's and
then
it is.
I am in a relationship
so
or I am
it is
single.
So helpful.
I mean, this is complicated, but
well, but ours. Okay, we both
we're calling ourselves single.
Yes, well, I am.
Okay, so here's the first question.
Okay.
Someone I love sends me a loving note, text, email for no special reason. And then the other option is I hug someone I love.
Well, I mean, but it says, which do you prefer or something?
Yes.
Okay, which do you prefer? Okay, so that's kind of the idea.
A text or a note would be words of affirmation.
Right.
Right? And then the physical touch would be physical touch.
Did you want a note or a hug?
Probably a note.
Yeah. Ryan? Yeah. All right. See?
How about you, Dr. E?
Hug.
Okay. Okay, so these are the questions, and then what it does is you can go and everybody go take this quiz. I think it's really helpful if you take the quiz just for yourself, because it's something that I didn't necessarily understand what category I was in, and I think it might help me understand how people are communicating with me, because it probably isn't necessarily, I don't necessarily respond the way most women probably would in relationship. I think I confuse the hell out of people. And so I think knowing it about yourself would help the communication when things get bumpy, so that you understand when somebody's looking at you like, why don't you like those Jimmy Choo shoes I just got you? And if I understand, like, those, it's just not my thing, you know? I mean, I do like Jimmy Choo shoes.
Well, I mean,
do not refrain from sending me Jimmy Choo shoes.
Please send the gift.
So let's get into you.
Okay.
You're the very
right.
last on your list of things. It's 7% is receiving gifts.
Well, that makes sense to me. Yeah.
Quality time is 33%.
Okay.
Acts of service is 27%. So that's almost a tie. And words of affirmation is 20%. And physical touch is 13%. Now it's tricky for us because we did this as like single, kind of thinking about each other. So
I wasn't
maybe if I had
necessarily thinking, but
maybe if I had a dude,
honestly,
I would have a
answering
higher
questions.
physical touch count. But
Okay, so what are yours?
okay. Words of affirmation, 33%. Acts of service, 30%. Receiving gifts, 20%. Quality time, 10%. Physical touch, 7%. Okay, and now Ryan. Words of affirmation, 30%. Quality time, 27%. Acts of service, 20%. Physical touch, 17%. Receiving gifts, 7%.
Wait, we aren't very physical people, are we? This is kind of lame on our part. Like, wow. I think we need to get up our
Well, I'm the worst. I mean, you were 13%.
on the physical.
Ryan was 17%. I was 7%.
Well, I'm wondering if my physical is. I mean, it probably shifts as we go along, but I think probably my physical is down because I just haven't had any lately. So it kind of goes into
the physical
goes on the wayside.
To be
you know?
fair, the physical is like a touch on the arm or a hug.
Oh,
like,
is the questions were asked?
maybe
Yeah.
if it was like, you
You
know,
know,
some rockin'.
I was thinking about my fiance. Who were you two thinking about?
But I was just thinking about the state of, grace where I am right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to. I was all confused on who I was thinking about. Was it past relationships, a half, like a, but I think it's the same. Like I know they really do. I will tell you, if anybody takes this quiz, they really do put that gift giving in there a lot.
Yes, why do you think that is, Dr. E?
There's a lot, like, because I felt like, you know what, I've already answered the gift giving
It's
like
true.
4 times. Do I still want gifts?
Right, because there's about 4 questions that have gifts in it.
I don't know that there are so many things about gifts. It may have felt like there were so many things about gifts because it was so low for you. So every time you saw it, you'd be like, no, that's not it. It's the other thing. But if gifts was higher for you, my guess is you wouldn't have perceived that there were so many gifts.
Because I guess there were, if you think about it now, there were a lot of questions about doing something nice or physical touch, so maybe we did log in our brain the gift giving ones more than the ones because they felt more because they didn't apply. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. I mean, but I know that we had a conversation on a podcast previous about gift giving and what it means. All of these things have a different understanding. But Heather had said that she likes having gifts, and I know this about her because she did not have a relationship where she had them, and this is just a personal thing that I understand about her. But what we got down to really was what it means. What does it mean to be given that gift? And it always comes back to something that is a personal, what it makes you feel when one of those actions or behaviors is done, like that it fulfills a need that probably comes from childhood. Is that right?
Probably, yeah. And here's the thing about gift giving. It's not necessarily that Jimmy Choo. It's I was at Starbucks and got your favorite coffee.
Yeah.
I was thinking with you when I was at the grocery store and got you this pack of gum. It could be little things. It's more about the thoughtfulness of it.
Totally. I say I'm a rolling gifts birthday person because I never remember anybody's birthday. But I also like to give gifts when I see something that somebody will like,
Yes.
and then
You're
I
a
want to
good
give. But
gift
you know,
giver.
I enjoy finding things that are. But I mean, if I see something that's fun, I like delighting somebody with that as a surprise or whatever. And I like that too. Generally, it's about figuring out how to communicate with whoever it is, a partner, a friend, a coworker, communicating clearly what it is that makes you feel good so that they can do that so that you can get the best out of your day.
Exactly.
So I've been trying to cut down on carbs, sugar, and junk food and realized I basically can't eat anything anymore. And sometimes I'm just really craving something sweet. Magic Spoon is the perfect fix that feels like it's cheating, but it isn't. It has 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving. Plus, there are only 140 calories a serving. It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, soy-free, low-carb, and GMO-free. It really has it all. And if you and your partner have different opinions on cereal flavors, don't worry. Magic Spoon's variety pack comes with 4 flavors: cocoa, fruity, frosted, and peanut butter. All of the flavors from your childhood, but it's super nutritious. I just had the cocoa flavor this morning, and it is the perfect way to start my day. But you can always have a bowl in the afternoon, too, when you need a little pick-me-up. To get your hands on a variety pack of Magic Spoon, just go to magicspoon.com/better. If you use the special promo code BETTER while checking out, you can save $5 off your order. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. I have a feeling you won't need a refund, though. Trust me, my pantry is fully stocked with Magic Spoon at all times. It's so good.
It's not stocked now because I stole it.
Heather stole it. Remember, get your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/better and use the code BETTER to save $5 off.
What happens is people speak in their own love language, but if that's not your love language, you can't hear all the time, energy, and effort that they're putting into saying that I care about you because you're speaking another language. So when you're in a relationship with someone, you want to know what their love language is so that you can speak it more frequently.
Don't you find that men have a difficult time with the love language, even the concept of it? Is it difficult for men to talk about?
Not in my experience.
No.
I mean, whether I'm working with couples or even, I bring this into the workforce when I'm working with executives to help them get along better, understanding someone's love language. And then we talk, it's more about language of appreciation. So maybe we're not talking love per se. But no, it's really powerful because once people start applying it, they realize just how helpful it is to be able to communicate in that person's language.
Well, that's really what it is. What you said, it is the language of appreciation. And that is such a big thing in relationships, particularly in marriages, that one does not feel appreciated. And so I can just see the value in that and to kind of learn how to do that, because when you do something that isn't natural to you, like if you are not a person who, for example, if you're not a person who wants self-affirmation, it's probably going to be hard for you to give that. So it's going to be unnatural for you to be like, I'm really proud of the way it's not going to feel right, but you do it anyways. And then you understand the value and the importance of it.
Or you're doing it, it because you know that that's their love language, so you're doing it for that. If you're having a difficult time in a say a work relationship, or it's not somebody that you are in a close relationship with, but you are feeling that conflict, how would you approach that situation or that conversation?
Yeah, so if you don't feel comfortable saying, hey, go to 5 love language, go take the quiz, you can listen to what they're saying and you can look at their actions. So I have a friend, every single time she comes to the house, and I'm telling you, she comes over like 3 times a week. She brings me a little something. It could be a daffodil, right? It's that she picked outside.
Yeah.
So that tells me she's gift. Someone
Right.
who freely gives compliments. Like,
Right, right.
I like your shirt today. Someone who freely gives compliments. Their love language is probably words of affirmation.
Reflecting exactly how you're acting.
Shakes
Right.
your hand at work or kind of pats you on the back or gives you a high five whenever they see you. Their love language is probably physical touch.
So if you're in a work relationship and you're having conflict, you want to pay attention to what the other person is doing and then maybe mimic that a little bit to get a little bit closer to them so that you can open up the relationship to something a little bit more kind, maybe?
Exactly. Yeah. So look at what they are saying and doing because they're speaking in their love language. You can also test things out. Hey, I was at Starbucks and got you this coffee. Okay, great. You write them a note and say, I noticed, I do this a lot for leaders, for their team. I noticed you stayed late or you worked really hard on that project. I just want to let you know how meaningful that was to the entire team and what a significant difference you made. If they read that note and you can literally see a smile, growing, or they come back to you like, wow, thanks so much for that note. Oh, then they're words of affirmation. So it can be kind of a fun game to figure out.
Sure.
Even things like songs. There's certain songs that if you listen to, you can actually hear what their love language is.
That's so interesting. I'm going to listen to music in a different way now. That's really funny.
Seriously. So hold on. I pulled up a couple because I thought it was funny. Janet Jackson, what have you done for me lately? Right? Post Malone, I never meant to let you down. Would have gave you anything. Gifts, right?
Totally.
So it's kind of fun as you now have this in your mind, like what, figuring out what other people's love language can be a fun game.
It is an interesting game. Oh my God, I'm thinking about songs and the guy like, oh, I should have taken you out. I should have bought you flowers every time that I had a chance or whatever.
Yes.
It's like, oh man, he found out her love language a little too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, is it different for men and women? Like, is it particular? I would find that I bet that do men and women tend to skew one or the other? Not in our case.
I don't
It was
have
all
that
over the
research.
place.
I will say that as soon as someone becomes a mom, acts of service goes up.
Yes.
Yes.
Right? Because
Amen.
we just have so much stuff to do. But the other thing to consider is not only what the other person is doing, but also what upsets them. Because here's a key that most people don't realize when it comes to love languages. Not only do we hear love when people speak our love language, but when they go against our love language, it hurts even more. Someone whose words of affirmation, when you give them feedback, like say things that aren't all that kind or just point out something that they maybe did quote wrong, that hurts someone more.
It doubles
than
it. Like it doubles the impact.
Exactly.
Wow.
Acts of service. If you say you're going to do something and don't do it, for some people, it's, I just didn't get to it. For someone whose love language is acts of service, that really hurts.
I would totally relate to that. If you say you're going to do something, you do, but I mean, it just drives me mad. That's also then something very curious. Knowing that I know that about myself, it's like a great way to pay attention. Like a bell will go off, like, oh my gosh, I'm getting really upset about something because my love language is being double. I'm being more impacted by something that the other person doesn't necessarily think is a big deal.
Yes.
But I treat them as if it's a big deal, and so often, and I can see this even with my kids, where I get so upset. Like you said, you were going to bring up that box from downstairs, and I really need you to bring up that box. And what's the big deal, right? What's the big deal to Homer? Because his is not active service, right? I totally get that. That's a really great key to relationships. I like it.
If your words of affirmation, good luck from getting that from your kids, right? Like that's not really the specialty of children, is telling their parents how much they appreciate them.
I will say I'm not words of affirmation, but my oldest daughter is, and she will say to me and text me, "Mom, I'm so proud of you."
Oh, that's so beautiful.
I'm so proud of you. Because I think it's been modeled so much, because that's my husband's love language. So it's been modeled so much in our
How
in our
old
household.
is your daughter?
She's 17.
Okay.
But what's interesting about having this conversation is if your children, what it does is open up the conversation. So if your children are taking this quiz and you say, I'm doing this with the intent of opening up our communication in really trying to figure out ways to love you better. So if we do this together, we can do it. And that gives the opportunity for us to be able to say, as parents, to be able to say, our kids can learn and go, wow, oh, mom, you would really like it if I said nice things, because I think nice things about you all the time. You know, I don't think necessarily that the kids, it's also a behavior that's kind of mature to be able to compliment somebody or to understand, you know, anything around an adult. When you're a kid, you think your whole entire life is about you. So it doesn't occur to children, I don't think, as often as adults, because we're more mature. But this opens up the avenue to be able to say, oh yeah, you know what, I am kind of that way, and gives them the opportunity to change and grow in their behavior and enjoy doing that. Look,
Yeah, and you can also start a practice. So if you are words of affirmation, you can start a practice as a family of what do you appreciate. So if you're having dinner together, what do you appreciate most in the person to your left or person to your right? Or it's one person's time. What do we most appreciate about, you know, dad? And so you can have those kinds of conversations. And then, you know, again, when you're modeling behavior, if you have a teenager or a 2-year-old, they're more likely to engage in that behavior again.
Well, I mean, and also, I mean, it's so fantastic because they'll be thinking about it and therefore thinking about it with their friends or teachers or whatever it is, because they have a language that they haven't understood before and understand that different people have different ones.
Right.
And they can pay attention.
Of it
yeah.
Too. And I wonder if you want, like, would you ever want to alter what your love language is consciously? Like if you felt like you were in a particular relationship with somebody that just could not provide for you what your love language is, are there ways to, or would you want to try to change yourself? Look, that just shows what a horrible marriage I was in at the time. Like you should
I actually don't have my own love language.
For his needs.
You should morph yourself into what works best for him.
Just pretend.
As I was saying that, I realized that I was saying
That's
that.
so great. I love. I could actually see the realization. Oh no, that actually.
No, because he'll never do
one
it.
Thing that is good is that even if it isn't your love language, if you know that it's their love language, then even though it may not fill your bucket, we'll talk about filling buckets in a moment, but even though it may not fill your emotional bucket, you can hear it as, I realize that they are trying to communicate love to me. It's not my language, but at least I can hear that that's what they're trying to do.
You all know Heather is crazy about skincare. Some of her home remedies have been a bit strange. For example, want to share?
Strange? You think it's strange to put 10 different products on your face before you go to bed? That it takes me an hour and a half to put on all of my stuff before I go to bed? That I rub needles on my face?
Exactly. None of that works. But you do know what actually works? Prescription treatments. That's why we're excited to partner with Apostrophe. Apostrophe is a prescription skincare company that offers science-backed oral and topical medications that are clinically proven to help clear acne. Apostrophe connects you with a board-certified dermatologist who will create a personalized treatment plan that is perfectly tailored to your unique skin. Apostrophe treats acne, and they can also help you hit your other skincare goals, like reducing redness, wrinkles, and even dark spots. Heather will love this. Heather, what are some of your skincare goals?
All the things you just said.
That's why we have a special deal for our audience. Save $15 off your first visit with a board-certified dermatologist at apostrophe.com/better when you use our code BETTER. This code is only available to our listeners. To get started, just go to apostrophe.com/better and click begin visit, then use our code BETTER at sign up and you'll get $15 off your dermatology visit. That's apostrophe.com/better and use that code BETTER to get your dermatology visit and save $15. And we thank Apostrophe for sponsoring the podcast. Well, I don't understand why it's so difficult to. I mean, once you understand someone's love language, if your intent is to love someone, and you've agreed that you want to make somebody feel as good as you can possibly make them feel because you're in a relationship and that's what you want to do, how difficult is it to go? You know what? I'm totally into complimenting you. Like if that's what you like, I feel like love language isn't far distant from love behavior. And why I don't understand why it should be so difficult. It should be a pleasure to engage in somebody else's love language. I understand that sometimes I'm talking about myself, didn't get it for like 10 years. And I feel kind of ridiculous for that because this seems like a very simple solution to understanding how to treat people in the way that they like to be treated. And isn't that what we want to do in life? Treat people the way that makes them feel good.
And I had somebody young that was getting married and they asked what my marriage advice was, which is funny, but I was married for 20 years. And so I said that it's really important to tell your partner what you need to be happy and that it constantly changes. Mm-hmm. And I still believe in that advice. And I think that it kind of is, the love language does kind of address that. It's like recognizing what it is that you need to be happy and fulfilled. And I think that that's what we're talking about here. And also recognizing that that's a moving target. It's one thing when you're young and just married, what your love language is, throw in 15 years and 3 kids and you might feel differently about what your love language is. And then you might, as you get older and maybe you can't do acts of service in the way that you did before, maybe that, so it's constantly evolving.
Well, doesn't it have a lot to do with self-esteem, saying what your needs are?
Well, yes. And first of all, so many people don't realize that they're love languages. So they're speaking in their love language, but they don't realize that there are other love languages. So part of it is just awareness of, there are 5 love languages. But sometimes people start shitting on their partner. Well, he should know what I need. She should know what I want. And shitting all over someone is never helpful in a relationship. So realizing that even if you've been with someone, my husband and I have been together for 25 years. Even so, sometimes just kind of reminding them, this is the way that I feel appreciated. And you can do it in a way, instead of critiquing, you never blah, 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 blah. Right. You do it, we don't want to punish, we want to reward positive behavior. Do you know how sexy you look when you're doing the dishes? Right? So key words of affirmation.
I mean, you don't think they see through that?
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
We all win.
But I do think that this love language quiz is a great way, and I always feel this way when we talk with you, is that it's a great way to address this with a partner in like a natural way. Say, I was listening to the podcast. Let's take this quiz. You do it for fun. And then it actually becomes something that is incredibly helpful to all of your relationships.
And then make it a game of how can I communicate in my partner and this other person's love language today.
Yes. You know what? Do you know what that is?
Make it an intent. Make it an intent of your day. Like, wow, I just learned something about my partner, and you know what? I'm gonna find a way today to do that. And that's a. When people are bored, I'm often confused, or when they or in bad moods and can't figure out how to get themselves out of it or whatever. And for me, I'm gonna go do something for somebody else. This is a great way. It doesn't really cost anything. You can pick a daffodil to be able to get yourself out of your own, get yourself up and out and do something for somebody else. And that in and of itself creates positive energy, which creates everything else that you talk about. And we are going to now talk about red zone, green zone because of your book. And all of this feeds into that. It gives positive energy. It gives more to the green zone. If we give to other people, it gives more to the green.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you know what?
Remember, when we're in the red zone, right, that high level of stress, we all have stress, we all get in the red zone, but when we're in that red zone, we're focused on what's wrong. So, well, you never blah, 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 right? We focus on what they aren't doing as opposed to, and we generalize that.
Right.
So that really hinders. One of the things I mentioned the buckets before, and I love talking about red zone, but you're talking about this. So there's an interesting ratio when it comes to relationships, and that is 5-to-1. 5-to-1 is 5 positives to 1 not positive cancel each other out. So it's not 1-to-1. It's not if you give, a negative comment and then a compliment, then you're good to go. We need to be filling the bucket of our loved one, our child, our partner, our colleague, so that there's a lot of positive in there, so that when something negative happens, you forget to pick up the laundry or you say something that they don't particularly like. That bucket is so full that it's not going to deplete or negatively impact your relationship.
That is so.
I mean, that's fascinating because I always described the end of my marriage was like a bucket of jelly beans, and the last mean thing that was said to me, it fell off. Like there was no space left. It was like, and it happened like that. I didn't see it coming. It was just one mean thing, and it tipped it, and there was no emptying it out and putting it back. It just tipped it. So I completely relate to that.
Well, I think something also happens in relationships. And we were talking about this bucket. I used to say, like, I would get up in the morning and everything was empty. Like I had to regain everything over the years or whatever. Like I was like, don't I get some credit? Like, don't I get some after school credit for all of the other stuff? And it's important to remember and take heed of this advice. I really like that. It takes a lot to take away hurt. That's why giving to others is so important, because that one hurtful thing, man, it's 5 times as bad as the one good thing. You don't remember that good thing, but boy, oh boy, will you take that one bad thing with you all week long.
Yep.
And it's really important to remember that, and also important to remember the good that other people do when you're confronted with something that you may not like, and remember the good things so that you go into a green zone and can communicate it with calm and love. Scott, I love your advice so much. It makes me nuts. I just think you're so terrific.
It makes us better together.
It makes us better.
All right, you've got some big news.
We want to celebrate you, Dr. E. We want to celebrate you because you have a book.
I have given birth once again. This one has no legs or arms, but it has about 100 pages.
But it has a spine.
Yeah, it spine. That's right. It does have a spine. We're going on that. No scoliosis, so we're good. Get out of the red zone. Transform your stress to optimize true success. It is out. It is ready to be consumed so that we can change this world. There's a lot of red zoneness going on. We're going to need to get more green zone into each of our individual lives and bring it to other people. And of course, one of the ways to do that is to speak in their love language.
Yes.
So where can we buy the book? Yes. Amazon, your website.
Go ahead,
tell
go
us
right
where
to
to go.
Amazon.
Okay.
It is there. It is just
Dr.
really...
Elizabeth Lombardo.
Doctor, I want to. Can you repeat that for me and maybe others who would like to hear the red zone? What was your byline to that?
For the book?
Yes.
It's transform your stress to optimize true success. Because here's the thing. We all have stress, right? It's not like we're going to get rid of all stress, but we're going to transform it from being red zone, horrible, overwhelming to, okay, I can actually control this. I have the tools to be able to deal with this.
And you said it's about 100 pages?
I believe so.
I mean, that is some kind, I mean, come on, we can all read that book. That is something you want to put on your bedside table and go, how many chapters do you have? Probably 10?
Probably. It'd be nice if I had the copy here. So.
They're
It's
sold
like when
out.
you first have a baby, you're like, is that one mine or is that one mine? So, yeah. I know what it looks like in PDF for sure, but it's really easy to read. It's the way I like to present, which is small digestible bites that we can consume and use in your life so that you can have less stress, so that you can have more happiness, so that you can be better together.
I mean, incredible. I know you don't have the book in front of you, but do you know your first chapter?
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you, I'm looking at the manuscript now. It's a little over 100 pages. The first chapter it's a story. Well, that's my introduction. We don't care about that. So the first chapter
we do care about
is the red zone. And I talk about a client who had been in the red zone and how they were in the red zone. And then just kind of talking about how we are all in the red zone at some time. So it may look like the coworker who bursts into tears at a business meeting, the family member who screams at kids while preparing the festive holiday meal, the friend who lets you have it for a perceived slight, the neighbor who leaves a nasty voicemail complaining about your dog. So these are all examples.
Your neighbor with the hammer was definitely in the red zone.
My neighbor with a hammer. So when you approach writing a book, do you tell us, is that how you do it with your chapters, that you tell the stories that relate to the topic, and so you engage us with, is that how you kind of approach your writing?
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely a lot of stories. That stories will help us solidify, and we can really identify with what's going on. The other part of it is, everyone experiences stress. Everyone gets in the red zone. But if you throw that on someone, sometimes it's like, well, not me. I don't do that. You know what I mean? So what I wanted it to do is to really depathologize, to destigmatize this concept of red zone, because we all go there. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means your brain has been hijacked. Your rational thinking has been hijacked by that limbic system. And so you aren't thinking rationally and you aren't acting rationally. It is part of the human experience. There's nothing wrong with you per se if it happens or when it happens. The key is to understand your red zoneness so that you can better control it.
Listen, everybody, we can be healthy. We can take care of ourselves and therefore take care of others.
And we have the holidays coming up. So the next time we have Dr. E on, I think we should talk about some tactics to get us through the holidays, which can be stressful.
That would be so wonderful. Let's do that, because we've got Thanksgiving coming and Christmas, and everybody gets
Hanukkah.
into Hanukkah, and it gets into such and then forget New Year's. Can we have that be our next session, Doctor?
That sounds great.
Fantastic. Everybody, please buy the book. Let's support Dr. E in the healing that she offers us in the red zone. Go get the book. And until next time, everybody, live in loving kindness.
Don't be a dick.
Mwah.
And a big thanks to our Better Together team, Ryan Tillotson, Sebastian Alcala, Daniel Ferreira, and of course, Ann and Heather. If you haven't already, please subscribe on whatever device or platform you're listening to this on. And as always, see you next week.
We're better together.